Welcome to One More Hour, the podcast all about backyard ultras, timed races, and the ultra running mindset of going one more. If you're an ultra runner, a trail or ultra runner curious about the format, or just someone who loves to test your limits, you're in the right place. I'm Jackie Wilson, an ultramarathon and marathon run coach, trail runner, outdoor enthusiast, and backyard ultra expert. On this show, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and conversations with runners, race directors, experts, and more to help you go further, dig deeper, and keep going when everything in you says stop. Thank you so much for joining me for some yards. Let's get started with one more. Welcome back to the One More Hour podcast. I am so excited to have today's conversation. We're going to be talking about a few different things from a few different perspectives, but we're going to be really diving into nutrition in the backyard, in timed races, in last man standing races, and just being a runner in general and how to really address some of the things that come up with nutrition. So my guest today is Kayla Fitzgerald. She brings a very unique perspective, and I think you're going to walk away from this episode with practical tips that you can use in your own training and in your racing. So let's get into it with One More Hour. Kayla, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I cannot wait to chat about all the things.
Yes, when we were talking before we pushed record, I consider you like this triple threat of being a registered dietitian, being a race director, and a fellow runner yourself. Like, I think you have a very unique perspective. And yes, like you can be a runner and a registered dietitian, or you can be a race director and a runner, but I haven't found many people who are the three. So I'm really excited to just really dive into nutrition and your experience with running and race directing.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to just be involved in the sport in so many different ways. You get to see like a lot of cool sides of running.
Is it hard to put on one hat at a time and be like, okay, I am a runner right now, or I am the race director, and I cannot be running over to help someone with their nutrition because I got to do these 10 other things?
I think I'm kind of known for like always carrying extra stuff with me. Like, oh my gosh, it was Barkley Fall Classic a couple years ago, and I was like giving this guy salt tabs, and then like this year I gave someone a tampon. Like, there's just I think it's the mom hat, really, like the overarching mom hat that I'm
yes.
Like, if I see someone who needs help, I'm gonna stop and ask them if they need help. But that's also why I will never be able to run any of my own races, because there is absolutely no way that I could take the race director hat off and go run one of my races. Like, that would be, I wouldn't say I'm like super controlling in general life, but when it comes to putting on my races, I'm like, this is my brand, this is my name, my product, like this is my baby, you know?
Yes.
And so I probably do get maybe a little bit more controlling with how I want things to be ran in that scenario. But I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, you know,
I don't think so either.
You want it to be something that is good and that you're proud of. So I think it works.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree with that. So where did your background come from when becoming a registered dietitian? Was that your first career choice? Was that the first thing that you wanted to be? Like, tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, so I think from a really young age, I knew that I wanted to do something involving health and people. So there was like a point in my life where I wanted to be a nurse. And whenever I actually went to college, I did start majoring in dietetics, and as a 17-year-old, realized really quickly, you know, I'm a pre-med major. This is bio and chem, like, on steroids, and that's really hard. So I did a stupid and changed my major to business, which you would think, hey, you own 2 businesses, that's probably great. But I mean, if you've been alive for the last 20 years, 30 years, you know that degree is pretty much useless right now. Like, nothing I learned really applies in today's world. So did that. And then moved to South Carolina. I grew up and went to school in Pennsylvania. Moved to South Carolina as soon as I graduated. Got a job just like waiting tables, but at a really nice resort. So I made really good money and I had great benefits. Like I will probably not make that much money ever again in my life. I should have just done that. But then got married and was like, hey, like once we have kids, am I gonna have to go back to work? Because I am not gonna have the patience to be in food and beverage and have children. And we were like, yeah, you should probably go back to work. So I'm like, well, I need to go back to school then. Like, and I want to see it through. I want to get my degree in dietetics. I want to go back and do it. But at the time there were no programs in Charleston, so I had to do it all virtually. And at that point, I think there were maybe only 2 programs that offered it virtually. So, I did that while like being pregnant twice and giving birth twice, like was in the hospital with our first, like ready to give birth and being like, I need to email my teachers. I have a final, like, and I tried to tell her, I'm like, hey, he's coming early. Like, I'm ready. Can I take the test early? And they're like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, well, then I'm taking it late because I'm probably going to have a baby. Like, so if for people who know me, I don't know why, but my personality is very much I tend to do things the hard way because I like to find out for myself. So that's kind of my explanation for all that. I'm like, I could have listened to my parents and done college like a responsible young adult the first time around, but I wanted to figure it out on my own. So I did it the really hard way.
And did you find it to be more rewarding coming back to it and really like, this is what I want to do?
Yeah. I mean, I was so much more mature. Like when I was in my dietetic internship and I had 2 kids at that point, I remember, talking to all the girls who were like fresh out of college. So, they were like 21, 22. And I'm like, how are you responsible enough at this age to do this internship? I was not ready when I was your age. Like, it just like blew me away. And they're like, how are you doing it? You're a mom. And I'm like, I don't know either. But yeah, I mean, I would not have volunteered and got involved like I did coming back as an older student and doing it. I never would have done any of that stuff. So although it was a much harder way to get my degree, I do think that I was exactly where I needed to be, and it happened in the way that it needed to happen. So it all worked out.
So what was your first job as an RD?
So I got really lucky, and 2 entry-level dietitians were leaving pretty much as we were graduating from our dietetic internship, because when you become a dietitian, you get your degree and then you have to get matched into an internship. So it can't just be like, oh, hey, you're a dietitian, I want to do my internship with you. Like, there's an approved list and it's a matching process. And at that point, it was only about a 50% match rate. So it was like half of the people that worked their butts off and got this degree were not going to get an internship. And if you don't do the internship, you can't sit for the RD exam and get your credentials. So it was a pretty big deal. So anyways, 2 people were leaving, and they created like kind of this whole pilot program so that we could slide in and 2 of us would get jobs that we could kind of be supervised before we took our RD exam and actually got credentialed. So I got really, really lucky because unlike all of the other interns, I had a home base here, right? Like I have a husband who has a job, I have kids. So I was like, I have to stay here. So y'all can go somewhere else, but I need this. And luckily, I did get one of the spots. So I did start in clinical. And I covered, the main things I covered were diabetes, the psych hospital, and then gen med and family med. And then throughout my time there, I covered a little bit of everything. People would go on maternity leave, and I got thrown into transplant and bariatric surgery. And like, I was, and probably still am a little bit, that kid that just like always wants to learn. And I'm like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I'm just going to do some stuff and figure it out. So
yes,
I loved just kind of bouncing around and seeing a little bit of everything.
So I haven't heard you mention running at all yet. So when did running come into the picture?
I was trying to figure that out a couple weeks ago because someone asked me how long I'd been running, and I know that it wasn't until at least after my first kid. I don't know if it was in between the first and second or if it was after just the second, which she's 11, so it has to at least be 10 years. But I super hated running growing up. I did track and field in high school one year just because I grew up in like middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. So like you got involved in whatever you could at school. So you had something to do after school. And I threw the javelin, not well. So I would sit in my car and wait until they ran the warm-up laps because I'm like, why do I have to run? I'm running like 20 feet. I'm going to run laps around this track. Running is terrible. So I hated it. So my mom always likes to remind me of that. Like, now this is your whole life, but you just hated it not that long ago. I'm like, I know. So yeah, it was really just a way for me to do something for me because, you know, when you're a mom, or parent, even a dad, like when you become a parent, you kind of lose who you are a little bit. And it sounds bad, right? But it's not necessarily a bad thing. You're becoming a different version of yourself. But I mean, there's always like that core, this is who I am, you know, but you just don't have as much time to hang out with that person anymore. So running was just a way that for me, I could do something that really was for me and was a little bit selfish. And it was just like my time to get out. And, you know, nobody's going to be like, oh, you shouldn't take time to go take care of yourself in the morning, right. You know, but if it's like, oh, hey, I'm going to go out to the bar with my friends, like that's not usually like as, oh, hey, that's a good thing for you to go do, Mom. So it was just kind of a good way to get out. I wanted to start being active again, but, you know, kids and then the gym hours. And if there's no childcare at the gym, I'm like, so I got to pay a gym membership and for a babysitter every day? Like, if I run, I can just put on my shoes and go out the front door before everybody gets up. Yes. So it was definitely a slow entry into it. I think it probably took me, I know it took me a solid couple months before I would run an entire mile without stopping. Like one day I finally was just like, what are you doing? Like, what do you actually think is going to happen if you just push through this? Like, your legs are not going to fall off. They're not going to like crumble and you're going to fall to the ground. You're young. You're probably not going to have a heart attack. Like, just keep going. And I don't know, just that little pep talk that day just like changed something. And I was like, all right, just going to keep going.
I love those kind of just flip the switch moments where you don't really know how or why, but it was just what you needed in that moment and it changed everything.
It did. It did.
So when did these two worlds collide? Like, when did you decide like, hey, like maybe I can take my degree and help runners with nutrition?
I would have to say after my first marathon, because it was a train wreck, you know, and I knew a little bit going into that. And it was like, okay, yes, I'm drinking fluids. I'm eating these sport beans that have carbohydrates and electrolytes, but I didn't really know like how much of anything I needed. I just knew that I was doing it. So that should be enough, right? I'm drinking the stuff. I'm eating the stuff. It's fine. And I was probably only maybe 2 miles out from the finish, and I started shaking. Like, I think my blood sugar probably just dropped so low that I was like, I don't even know if I can walk to the finish. So we just started like not borrowing, I ate them, I didn't give them back, taking snacks from people around us and just got in like as much food as I possibly could and just kind of like walked it out a little bit till I felt better. And then I did finish it, but it was at that point that I was like, okay, there's like some science behind this, because when you go to school to be a dietitian, you don't really learn about sports nutrition. Like, there are some programs where you can do your internship and it might be sports focused, but those are also like pretty limited. Like, you're really kind of learning like, this is clinical nutrition, this is like public health nutrition, this is food service. So kind of the really niche stuff like that, you're not learning about the intricacies of that. So that day was like a really big wake up call for me, because I was just like, there is more to this. Like, there's some science here that needs to start sciencing, because that was not good. And so I just kind of started diving into it, you know, like getting on continuing education things, webinars, reading like textbooks from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, like just, and then using myself as a guinea pig too, right? Like I'd read something and be like, all right, well, I'm going to try that out. And, you know, sometimes stuff worked and sometimes it didn't work. And you were really glad you were somewhere with a bathroom nearby. So yeah, I mean, it really kind of, it came from that first experience of just kind of blowing up at almost the end of a marathon, realizing like, hey, you kind of have like a background here. Like, you know, some things about nutrition, like, let's kind of dive into that world. And I'm like, if this is happening to me, this is certainly happening to other people. And the worst part was that I thought I was doing the things. Like, I was. It's not like I was like, oh, I don't care, I'm not going to fuel. Like, I was trying. I just didn't have like all that knowledge or somebody to guide me. And so that's when the wheels kind of started turning. They're like, hey, there might be something here.
Wow. I think it's an incredible thing to watch how one thing can mold into another, and not like fully understanding the bigger picture, but looking back, being able to see like what the path was and how it was also probably so different from how you originally just expected. Like, this is how my life is going to be, or this is how the career path is going to be. And it ends up totally different.
Yeah. I mean, 'cause I worked clinical, then I did private practice. Like I was part of a private practice. And so I was just kind of seeing everybody and anybody for a good couple years there, until one day my husband was like, why don't you just do your own thing? Because he could see that I was really starting to be like, this is who I really want to work with. But the practice I was working at, and we're still like, we just talked on the phone the other day, but they were very, her specialty was eating disorders. And so then I kind of came on to see like everybody else. But as I started really being like, okay, this is what I'm passionate about, I was like, it's really hard to like have a presence in being like eating disorders, but also extreme sports, you know? Because like the people that she was working with, like, it's not like they were runners with eating disorders, right? Like it was kind of like two separate worlds. So, you know, like we sat down and talked, and I was like, I just feel like we are both going to be better if like I kind of go my own way. Then I can just like unfilter myself. Because right now I'm filtering everything I'm saying. So I'm being very careful about like what I'm saying and what I'm talking about, because you have this other population over here that like that could be very triggering too, right? And so it was, again, we just talked the other day, so very amicable breakup. But I just, I'm kind of like a jumper. Like he literally came home from work and he was like, oh, how was your day? I'm like, I quit my job, I'm gonna start my own business. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah, that's what you told me to do. He's like, do you know what you're doing? And I'm like, nope. Like, we're gonna figure it out. Like, you can't tell me, you can't dare me to do something, because I'm gonna do it. So yeah, that was almost 4 years ago. Yeah, almost 4 years ago when I did that. So
let's talk about the most recent jump. The jump that you've had in the past, like 2-ish years. Like, now you're a race director too. So tell us more about just getting into the race directing scene, your company, like the races that you have. Just tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, that was like another not planned thing. As I started running further and started to get into the ultra scene here, and I was also running some stuff like in the upstate, and so I kind of had a connection to the crew up there. And one day the race director here was like, I've been doing this for, 10, 12 years. Like, I'm ready to just enjoy life and not have to live in the forest and be stinky for like all these weekends out of the year. So like basically this year will be my last year doing it. If anyone wants to talk about taking the races over, buying the company, like, let's chat. And something in my brain was like, you need to do this. But I was like, but I like to run the races. I don't want to like be the boss of the races. And within like the first couple hours, it was, I think like 3 different friends had texted me and they're like, did you see Chad's post? Like, you should do this. And I was like, whoa. Like, I feel like the universe is trying to tell me something here. And so before I even had talked to my husband, I sent the race director a message and I was like, I have not talked to my husband yet. So this could be like a total, like, this isn't happening thing. I was like, but I want to talk, like, to him, and then I want to talk to you. Like, something is just calling me to do this. You know, part of it, I don't know what part of that draw was, but part of it was that I didn't want to see the trail races disappear here. You know, we're coastal South Carolina. There's not a ton of options for ultra. It's not like we're in the upstate with mountains, or North Carolina, like, where, my gosh, every weekend you could probably take your pick of multiple different trails or ultras. So I was like, if we lose this, like, it's gone. It's done. There's no trail community here. And there wasn't a big community aspect to it before I took over. It was more kind of like, hey, these are the races, show up, that sort of thing. So I knew that I wanted to make it more of a community. Like, I wanted to start group runs. I wanted to get more people out on the trail because, my gosh, people have some big misconceptions about the trails and how, oh my goodness, you have to be elite and everybody's so fast and I'm just going to fall down and it's scary and the snakes are going to like fly out of the bushes and bite me. And, you know, like, all things that I also thought when I first started, to be fair. So I was like, we need an overhaul here. Like, I want to make this more of a community. I want to educate people on the trails. I just want people to get outside and move their bodies. Like, at the end of the day, that's it. Like, I just want more people to get outside. So obviously my husband was like, cool, we'll try this. Like, whatever you want to do. And yeah, it's been a little over 2 years. And so we bought the company from Chad Hoffa, and it was called Eagle Endurance at the time. And I said, we wanted a complete rebrand, everything, like put a whole fresh spin on it. So new name, Palmetto Ultras, new logo. We did all the same races. We've added one since then, but we've definitely put our own flair on it, you know, like awesome swag, awards. My husband is a chef, so he's like on the grill the whole weekend when we're putting on races. So like we try to really make it that like party in the woods, very welcome sort of vibe. And we have people who are out there and they are coming in, you know, seconds before the cutoff. And we've got people who are breaking course records by a landslide, you know, and that's part of what I love about running is it is for everybody and you can do it in your own way and it doesn't matter. You can be a cutoff chaser, you can be a course record breaker. It literally doesn't matter. We can all be out there together. And I think that's what's just really cool about not just trail running, but running in general.
Yeah, I agree. And I think being able to involve everyone, no matter pace, no matter abilities or distance, I think that's really important. And when I was looking at Ultra Sign Up, I've looked at your website like multiple times over the past like year and a half. And it's like on my bucket list to make it out to the East Coast to run one of your races. I told my husband that like last month. I was like, we are running one of these races sometime. Like, we're going to make it happen. Yes. But I love how it's like 100 mile, 50 mile, 50K. Like, I just love the variety. And I think it makes it, I don't know, even more special when there are a large amount of events for like that one weekend.
Well, it makes it more accessible too, right? Like, because that was a big thing that before we took the races over, most of the races only had like ultra or very close to ultra distances. So I was like, well, you're never going to get someone out to a trail run if the first option is 50K.
Yep.
So we added, I think all of our races at least have a 10K. And our cutoff times are essentially so that you could walk the entire race. Like when we did Swamp Fox, I think it was when we did it earlier this year, we had this group of like older women who walked the entire thing, and they came up to me afterwards and like, we picked this race because of your cutoffs, because we love doing this, but so many races, the cutoffs are like, they're just too tight for us and we can't make it. And I'm like, hey, I'm a mid to back of the pack runner, so I love to be a little bit less stressed about making the cutoffs. And so if I can, like, I'm going to be out here anyways, right? If I have a 100-miler going on, like, I may as well give a really generous cutoff to everybody else because I'm still going to be here.
Yes.
So yeah, like adding the shorter distances, making the cutoffs longer, like all of those things make it more accessible and help to break down some of those myths, right? Like you don't have to be elite. Like I think our 50K cutoff is like 12 hours and it's flat. There's no climbing mountains, there's no elevation, so it's not like, oh man, it's really gonna slow me down. Like flat, you know? So like we want people to come out. We want them to feel like they have the space to come out and like mess around and find out, you know?
Yes. Yeah. So what advice do you have for someone who is kind of like, I don't know if trail running is for me, but maybe it is. It's just kind of in the back of their mind and they've been on the roads for so long. What advice do you have for them?
I think first, you know, if you are on social media, like try to follow some people on there, right? That are trail runners. Like you're going to get a good feel for like what the vibe is without even having to go to a trail or a trail run by just doing that, right? And then the other thing, look for a local group nearby and go check it out, right? Bring a friend. We all know we get a little nervous probably going to a trail run, especially if you're a road runner and you're like, I'm going to my first trail run. Like, grab a friend, right? That way you're feeling a little more at ease. At least you know somebody there. But that was why I wanted to do it. Because I'm like, well, if you're also expecting them to just show up to a race for the very first time that they're getting on trails, which I love when people do that. They'll be like, oh, this is my first race. And I'm like, oh, like your first trail race? And they're like, no, like I've never been on trails before. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, but yeah, like I would say that, like find a local group to go run with, or, you know, look on All Trails is like a great free, for the most part, app. I think they just changed a bunch of features because I had to pay more money the other day to use it. But you can see like reviews and stuff for local trails. So you can kind of see like difficulty levels and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think going with a friend, look at some reviews, follow some trail runners on social media. You'll kind of get a good idea of like what the vibes are. And yeah, just don't let all the myths that you think are true hold you back from doing it. Go find out on your own, right?
Yeah.
Like, here, a big thing is always like people are afraid of snakes. I don't particularly love them either, but I've spent so much time out in the woods that now I'm like, I wouldn't say I'm comfortable. I'm like, oh, hey, friend. I mean, sometimes I am. I think there's actually a video of me like a month ago talking to a copperhead like that. But, you know, it's just like anything in life. You're nervous about something, but you just do it, and then you get more comfortable, and you realize, oh, all these things I thought about this, like, those aren't actually true. And I think another big thing is, like, do your research, right? If you are worried about animals, one big thing that I did was I looked up, like, who lives in the forest by me, right? Like, and what is the likelihood that I'm gonna see them? And what should I do if I see them? And, like, just learned all the things so that I wasn't out there being like, what do I do if I see this certain animal, you know? So educate yourself on the stuff that makes you nervous, whether it's animals or the terrain or whatever. Like, you could go out there and walk a trail the first time. You don't have to run it. Like, just go get familiar with it. So you don't have to jump into an ultra. Like, you can go do some exploring before that and feel a little more comfortable.
Yeah, I think going for a hike is an excellent tip. And that makes it even more accessible to bring any friend along with you. Just go for that hike, know where you want to potentially run. And then the next time you're going to have a little bit more confidence to run it yourself.
For sure.
So talking just a little bit more about your races. When you are planning your aid stations, what hats do you have on?
Oh, all the hats. Like, literally all the hats. Because I'm thinking, like, what do I like to see at an aid station as a runner? As a dietitian, what do they need to have, right? And as a race director, like, that can be a selling point, right? Like, if you've been to a race put on by a company and you're like, oh, their aid stations are, because there are race companies that I'm like, oh, your aid stations are garbage, so I know I need to bring like all of my stuff, you know? So that can be literally, I mean, we're runners, right? Like, we're very easy to please. Like, it could be, hey, I know there's a good aid station, or I want that hoodie, or whatever. Like, it doesn't take much to make us want to run a race. So yeah, I would say I'm literally wearing all of the hats because I am all those people. And so I think it brings a unique perspective to it where I'm like, okay, cool. These are the things that my people like, you know, and
Yes.
these are the things that I like.
So just give us like a couple of your favorite food items that you have at your aid stations.
Yeah, so I try to have a little bit from like all the major runner food groups, right? So candy. So we usually have like a variety of like gummy candy. So like fruit snacks, there might be like Sour Patch Kids, gummy bears, that sort of stuff. There's always like a couple like gummy candy choices. Granola bars. So I like to have something with like a little bit of protein in it. Salty for sure, salty and crunchy, right? So we got to have like variety of chips and pretzels. Some big favorites are like pickles, pickle juice. I don't know if I've ever seen this at any other race except ones here, but like the boiled canned skinned potatoes like rolled in salt are like really popular.
Kayla, I just boiled potatoes and put salt on them for my race this weekend. I have this huge container, and I am the most excited about that.
It's the best because it's like there's so much sweet, right? And so it's a nice like savory but still really carby hit because we know that's like the star of the show is the carbs. So like pretty much everything's got to have carbs. And then, yeah, like depending on the race, like it might either be, hey, at the aid station, cause it's like the main aid station, like at a looped race or on like some of our longer races. We also do hot food. So like super excited about the next race. Because it's close to Thanksgiving, we are doing, and every one of our races has like a themed quesadilla. Like it's not just quesadilla, like it's got to be something next level. So this next one is my favorite one, and it's a Thanksgiving quesadilla. So we do, of course, cheese, turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, and cranberry sauce all in the quesadilla, and it is so good. So I'm really excited about that.
Wait, we got to talk about this for a minute. So how is this being built? Like, are you doing it like
we cook all like the stuff ahead of time, right? So like we'll cook off a turkey. I will make a boatload of mashed potatoes. I'll cook off stuffing, and we, keep all that cold, and then my husband will just like assemble it and put it on the grill, put the cheese on, heat everything up, and magic.
Gosh, and now I have to run that race just to try it.
And it's the race that we do hoodies for, so it's kind of like, I don't know why a million people are not signed up for it just yet. You still got time. It's November 14th through the 16th, but that is probably one of my favorites, because I'm like, it's the best swag, it's the best quesadillas, it's November, so it's not 100, the bugs aren't out, but it's also not like the super cold winter months, so I'm like, this is the race. And this year we're having it at a new spot. We're having it at Johns Island County Park, which is right outside of Charleston, and it has a bathhouse with real toilets and showers. Like, this is trail runner luxury right here.
Yeah, you have everything.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I like when I can take a shower that's not like a bag hung from a tree as I stand in like a little thing that's blowing over and collapsing on me. Like, a real shower makes a world of difference.
So your husband is a chef. Mm-hmm. He is making some of the food for the aid stations.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He does like
all the hot food. Like, he does all of that.
Okay. And are you guys working together to figure out what to serve, or are you primarily saying, I think this is what we should do, and then he chefifies it?
Probably more of the second one, but we do have a meeting where I'm like, this is what I think. And then he will be like, okay, like that's a little ridiculous. Or like, maybe we should do this. Or sometimes he definitely comes up with some good stuff in his chef brain too. And he'll be like, I want to do this. Like, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah, I love that. So I definitely, like I said, I get a little controlling with the races. So I always have an agenda coming in.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm always open to like, because he's the one that actually has to do it, right? So to me, that's the one part that I'm like, this might look good on paper to me, but he might be like, that is never gonna work on a on a whatever it's called, Blackstone. Like you can't do that. I'm like, okay, fine. Like then you come up with an idea. So there's a lot of teamwork, but when it comes to the race, like that's like his job. I'm like, I print out a little thing that I hang up that says like, at this time, from this time to this time, like this is what you're cooking, blah, blah, blah. So that like, he just knows. And I mean, that's like something we fine tuned along the way. There were races where I'm like, did you ever make the pizza rolls? And he's like, no, you didn't tell me to. I'm like, I'm sorry, I was busy directing a race, Like, he's like, well, how am I supposed to know? I'm like, okay. I'm like, what would help you, like, to know what and when to do it? And he's like, just print out a thing. So I do. I print it out. I put it in, like, a sheet protector so it doesn't get, like, rained on or whatever. And I hang it up right by the grill.
That's perfect.
And that way, like, he knows what he's doing. I don't have to, like, remember to tell him to do something, because obviously as a race director your brain is literally all over the place on those weekends. So if somebody has a conversation with me that's important, I'm like, please email, text, call me like in a week or so, because I will have no recollection of this conversation. So I hear you, I'm listening. I might have a different answer next week, so let's circle back around.
Yes. So I think we need to take just a step back. I want to do like a quick overview of fueling for ultra marathons, because the biggest mistake that I see with athletes is they go from the road to the trails and to ultras, and they try to take what worked in the marathon and the half marathons, and now you're out there for longer periods of time. Now you're running slower, you're hiking, and it's not as enjoyable. Like, okay, marathon nutrition is not enjoyable, but I don't want to be eating gels on my run when I'm on the trails. I want to be snacking. I want to be just embracing the entire thing. And I think that's one of the things that holds runners back from getting more into ultras and trail running. Just I don't want to eat gels for the entire time. So can you like give us a brief overview of fueling for ultra marathons?
Yeah, and I will say, and I hate saying this with nutrition because it sounds like a cop-out, but, like, it really does depend, right? Like, it depends on the runner. Like, look at people like David Roche. Like, he literally does, like, gels and liquid stuff. Like, he's performing at such a high level, and he's not out there as long as a lot of other people. And that's what works for him. So I will say I totally agree with you. I did my first ultra 100% on gels. Never again, ever. I was so miserable for many days after, because I did the Huma gels with all the chia seeds. So, like, my gut was essentially like a chia pudding for like 4 days. It was so painful. But yes, like, it is different for everybody. It's different for every race. There are people, especially if you are somebody who is working at a really intense level, like, you might not be able to handle a hamburger, right? Whenever, like, your body is performing at such a high level. So I think it definitely depends on the race. But usually there is some adaptation from that, right? Like, the biggest one being you're out there for longer. Whether you're fast or not, you're going to be out there for longer. And that's really what dictates how much carbohydrates you need to eat per hour, is like how long you're out there. So the longer you're out there, we need to increase that carb. So if you maybe took in 30 grams an hour for like a marathon, you probably need to be closer to like 60 to 90 for an ultra, So what you did before, you might be able to still use the same products, but you might need more of them. And when you do that, you might get sick of them, right? So what was maybe 1 gel an hour, now, like, do I really want to eat 3 gels an hour? So Yeah, it typically, I find that is also, that I agree, like in the nutrition space, that's a big thing I see is like, I'm just gonna do the same thing. I literally did it myself, right? Like, so yeah, I just, carbohydrates change. You got to think about your palate fatigue, right? Like, oh, I'll just do this, even if it's not a gel, right? Maybe it's chews or it's a hydration mix or whatever. Like, it sometimes looks great on paper, but then you get out there and 6 hours in, you're like, I don't want to drink this ever again. So, knowing those things, and that's something that when I work with runners creating a race day fueling plan, like, they might not realize, but there's definitely been times recently I had someone, I'm like, everything on here is sweet. Like, we need to play around with like some salty, some savory, like some non-sweet stuff, because I'm like, I know this is what you like and I know this is what you've been using. I'm like, but I'm telling you, if you're gonna be out there for like 16 hours, this is not gonna feel good at some point, you know? So just, and if it's like, if you're just making that transition, you're not going to know that, because you're going to think this is what worked in my marathon. I'm just going to add a couple more hours on and it's going to be fine. But really it is a different ball game. So you do have to change things up. Different races are going to require, like, I fuel very differently for a flat race here in South Carolina than I do for a mountainy race in Tennessee than I do for a backyard ultra. Like, they all have very different fueling plans. So even, having, just knowing like, hey, I can't just use the same thing all the time. Like, I'm always running the same kind of race in the same place. Yeah, probably. But if you're somebody who kind of goes all over, does different formats, then yes, it should look different.
And I think that, I think you shorten the learning curve for so many people.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's similar to like when we were kids and our parents or our grandparents are telling us things and we're like, no, you're wrong. And then you grow up and it's like, oh no, they were actually right.
Yep. Yeah.
And I feel like it's the same thing. Like, registered dietitians are shortening the learning curve because you know that we need a variety of different fuel sources and electrolytes, and that we are going to have that palate fatigue, and that we should have a little bit of protein in there, and that's something that sometimes has to be learned the hard way too. Like, you might know those things, you might be told those things, you might have this fuel plan, and you may gravitate towards like, maybe I don't want all these things. I'm really doing good with my gels and with my candy. And you may experience like after 6 hours, like, I don't want anything sweet at all. Now what? So I think learning things the hard way is also sometimes a good thing.
Oh, totally agree. I mean, I feel like I still learn lessons, where I'm like, oh, like, I didn't realize that was a thing that was happening, and I'll hop in like our Slack channel, be like, does this happen to anybody else? And it's like, there's not like one source out there that's like, this is everything sports nutrition you ever need to know, because we are so individual. Like, so yes, biologically different sort of things are going on in there. Mentally, we're thinking different things about how we're fueling and our running and whatever. So like, it's always kind of changing. So yeah, I mean, even now, like, I'm still like learning some things, and it's cool to like have this community to share it with. But you're totally right. Like, whether it's a dietitian or a run coach, like, yeah, you can go and do it on your own. Like, that is always an option. And like you said, it's not always a bad option. But that's exactly what my job is as a dietitian, and exactly what your job is as a run coach. Like, we can help you get there quicker. So if you don't want to take the hard route, like, we help guide you there so that you can spend more time doing other things besides just feeling frustrated about your running or your nutrition, right? And something that was really, I guess I'm putting on half of another hat too, like dietitian business person hat, like something that was and is always going to be important to me is to have different ways people can work with me that have like different price points and different levels of support, because you do get people that are like, I'm like a really good self-learner. Like, I just need the legit knowledge, right? Like, I'm just getting all these different messages from social media and my friends that I run with. Like, I just need somebody to like tell me the truth and like I can figure it out. So things like a course or like an individual like webinar that I have, like that's perfect for those people, right? Like you can spend a whole lot less money if you are willing to put in a little more work on your side and figure it out. I'm going to give you the information and give you ways that you can apply that, but you have to go do that, versus something like a race day custom nutrition plan where we're going to talk on the phone and then we're going to follow up and I'm going to do all the legwork. You just have to go practice it in your training, right? So like different price points, different levels of support, because everybody needs help, but not everybody needs the same exact kind of help. You know, when I worked for that private practice before, it was just one-on-one nutrition coaching. And I was kind of like, but everybody doesn't need that. And also from a business standpoint, you can't take that many people one-on-one. Like, I am still a human. I have a family. I like to run. Like, there are only so many hours in the day. By doing these other things, I can reach more people. I can help more people. And yeah, it just, like you said, it shortens that learning curve. And I think that's what's really cool about it, is seeing people get there without like all the years of frustration that, like, I shared some of my personal, like, oopsies, I probably shouldn't have done that. Like, getting to be like, oh my gosh, you don't have to spend 4 years, you know, not fueling properly. Like, in 3 months, we're going to be done working together and you're going to know all you need to know. Like,
yes. Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe they want to take it like a 2-tiered approach where they want to just do a master class and they want to learn more about what you have to offer and nutrition. And then once they get into it, they're like, oh yeah, like I do want this custom race day plan.
Yep, because you think like, oh, maybe I know some stuff, and then you're like, oh, I don't know some stuff.
There's always like the answers to the questions always produce more questions, right?
They do, yeah, and I think that's a good thing. Like, that shows, I think, that you're really like diving into it and being able to identify like, okay, this isn't my strong suit, you know, like I do need some help with this. Like, that is absolutely okay. Right? Yeah. Like, that's not a bad thing. That doesn't mean you're weak or whatever. It means that you're really curious and you really want to do it the right way. Like, and I think that's a great thing.
Yep. So I want to shift a little bit. You mentioned that you will fuel, let's say, a 50 miler different than a 100 miler, different than a backyard ultra. So, you know, we have set fixed distances where there are cutoffs that we're chasing. We have fixed time events where we can run for 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, and just run for however long we can run / hike / walk. And then we have the last man standing and backyard format where you have a set amount of time to run this distance. And if you do not complete your loop within that amount of time, you are done. So I feel like overall there's the general similarities of nutrition, right? But there also are like some differences. So tell me if I'm wrong in thinking this, but with the backyard ultra and the last man standing format, there's limited time to problem solve, right? I think that's like one of the biggest obstacles is, well, I think there's two. One is you never know how long you're going to run or how far you're going to go. So there's always that question of like, how much further can I go, or how much longer is this going to go? And that messes with your head because you can DNF at any point. You can DNF at any point in any race, but I think the backyard ultra is a little different in that standpoint. But then the other side is like, you can't take 20 minutes or 30 minutes to let your stomach settle or to take a nap. And I think you have to be a quick problem solver. The last man standing backyard format teaches you to solve problems very quickly. So what differences in fueling do you see in the last man standing backyard format versus a fixed distance or a fixed like timed event?
So I think one big thing that you said is like, you don't have time to let your stomach settle, right? So like it is a little bit harder to get like some of that solid food in, right? Because if I'm going to eat like a burger, I'm probably going to power hike for like the next 30 minutes just to like let things settle. And that way when I start running again, but like you can't do that in a backyard unless you can walk really, really fast or you're going to like sprint the second half of the loop. So you do have to, I would say it's more important to practice your nutrition going into it, like for those solid sort of foods. Like know how that's going to impact you. There might be some things that you're like, I just can't eat this, right? Like I know that they're going to have this and it sounds really good, but like maybe I did a little looped run to like train with some of those things, and I know that this isn't gonna work for me, or hey, this is gonna work, or whatever. So I do think that because you have less time to let stuff settle, I do usually encourage runners I'm working with that are doing a backyard to like try some of those things out. Like look at the runner's guide, look at the website, shoot an email, like find out what kind of stuff they're gonna have. Or if you're lucky enough to have a crew come along, then like you can just totally be like, hey, next loop I want some ramen, next loop I want some pancakes, like whatever it might be. So I think crew is super important in a backyard ultra. You don't have to have it, but it is real nice. And they can kind of help with some of the nutrition on that front. The other thing is normally like, so a true backyard is 4.16 whatever miles, right? Whereas a last man standing is just, it can be any distance loop and you're just going until there's only one person left. But typically those loops are shorter. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't think I've seen anything longer than a backyard distance for like a last man standing style. Like usually it is that 4-ish miles or less. Like I've done some, I think the shortest one I've done is like 1.6 mile loop for like a timed race. So the plus about that is you don't have to carry a pack full of stuff with you, right? And if you get sick of whatever you're eating, you're only a few miles away from a whole bunch of other options. So, I'm thinking about like a long point to point race, something like that, or even like a bigger loop where you're like, well, I'm not going to have access to anything else for a couple more hours. And you're just kind of stuck with whatever you have on you. Like the beauty of a last man standing or a backyard is you're never more than 30, 40 minutes away from having your snacks, having different options at the aid station. So if you do understand like the general foundation of race day nutrition, you can mix it up a little bit more if you need to, because you have all those options right there every single hour. So that's a huge plus. And not having to carry it with you, like, oh my gosh, that's probably one of my favorite parts is so when I do it, I normally take a handheld and it's usually like scratch. Right, so I've got carbs and I've got sodium in my bottle and I'm out there doing my thing. And then what I do is I make three different bins. So I have a bin of like sweet, a bin of salty, and a bin of protein stuff. And I figure out like how many grams of carbs and sodium are going to be in my bottle. And then whatever I need to make up for. So like, let's say maybe I need to get 30 more grams of carbs every hour. I will portion all of those little snackies so that they each have 30 grams of carbs. So all I have to do is come in, and if I'm like, give me something out of the sweet bin, I get something sweet, and I know that it's already exactly what I need. If it's salty, that's portioned out that way. It's all portioned out already, so I can just grab it. And I like to eat in between the loops for the backyards because I like to just focus on like getting the running part done while I'm out there and not have to like slow down to eat something. I'm like, well, I'm already going to be back here for at least a few minutes, hopefully. So that's kind of how I like to do it. I have my little bins. They're all portioned out and they all have like the same amount of carbs and whatever. So that way it's easy to grab it. And even if I didn't have a crew, like, that's a really easy way to self-support during a backyard or a last man standing too.
That's how I did my first 2 backyard ultras. I had a Ziploc for every hour and I already had all my math done. So it reduced so much mental load from me. The obstacle that I ran into was, it was like the hottest day of the summer. We almost hit 100 degrees that day. Okay. And then the shift was, I just need to stay cool. I need to wear a neck shade. I need to wear an ice bandana. I need to put a hat on. I need to make sure my sunscreen is good. And my stomach got a little bit sour from, I think, more gels than I anticipated I could eat, along with like the sugary foods. So I kind of did a quick, like, okay, what do I need right now? Like, you know, you have limited time. So I took that hour off, or that loop off from fueling, and then I got back into it. And I think just like doing that quick reset was very beneficial. And I think it's like, I don't know what it is from your perspective, but I thought, and I think that's beneficial for runners, is like, it's okay if you just take a little bit of a break to allow your stomach to reset, because you can't just sit down and let it reset. So you got to keep moving.
Yeah. And I do normally program in, like, I literally call it like the fueling plan break. So it'll be an hour or sometimes 2, just depending, like, and we'll do them normally like every 5 to 7 hours. Everybody's a little different. Like, I'm sure you kind of know, like, okay, after this many hours, for me, it's like 6. I'm like, I don't want to drink this anymore, you know? So we program in like these fueling plan breaks where it's like, and again, for everybody, it's different. For some runners, it's like, you're just going to drink water for this hour. Like, don't take in anything else. Like, you're going to be fine, right? If you're a super salty sweater, maybe we're going to pop like a salt tab or do like some unsweetened electrolytes. Like the Scratch, what is it? I think they called it something different now, but like the everyday drink mix that's just like 400 milligrams of sodium per scoop, and it's like the lightest flavor. There's no sugar in it, so like it's not sweet. If you're a heavy sweater or in a situation like that where it's wicked hot out, like that might be a good idea. But like, yeah, take that hour off. For other runners, it's been like, have a Coca-Cola, like just like chug one of those and like go out for your next, like, so for everybody it's a little different. But yeah, I love programming in like those little breaks, because even just an hour break can make such a big difference. And I also, during those breaks, I love those little Colgate Wisps, those like little toothbrushes that have like the toothpaste kind of built in. And I'll give my mouth a refresh like every couple hours. And that can make a huge difference too. Because if you've done this before, right, you know, like the teeth and the mouth, like it just, you're like, I just
get the teeth clean.
Yeah. So yeah, a little swish of mouthwash or like the Colgate Wisps. I was like, you don't need water for it. You literally just like put it in your mouth, scrub your teeth down, and you throw it away. So like little things like that can make such a big difference and help prevent some of that palate fatigue that is really common in longer races like a backyard or a last man standing. So, and, you know, like you said, you kind of were like, well, here's my fueling plan, but then I started feeling this way. And I think that's really, like, it's a sign of, like, a more mature runner, right? Kind of like a training plan, too. Like, as a coach, I'm sure people have been like, okay, I know you programmed this today, but, like, I woke up and I felt, like, terrible. Like, I think it's really mature to be like, hey, I know the difference between I should push through this and maybe I need to change something, right? But I know some people look at that as probably like, oh, like mental toughness, like push through. And I'm like, there's a time and a place for it, right? And like, only you know that. Like, your run coach can't even tell you that. Your dietitian can't tell you that. So like, that's a big thing that I like my runners to also learn when they're working with me, right? Is like, I don't want to just give you a plan and like, that's all you know. I want you to like understand, like, that way, when you do need to troubleshoot, you can. Because, like, I do give, like, my one-on-one athletes and my group coaching athletes, I do give them my number for race weekend so they can text. But, like, someone that just gets, like, a one-off plan, like, I love you, but you're not going to give my phone number. So it's good to learn and then to, like, have that ability because, and somebody asked me that on Instagram the one day. I think I turned it into a post. It was a while ago. They're like, do people really follow a plan after, like, 50 miles? And I was like, I mean, it depends on the person, but, like, ideally, yes, because this plan outlines what you need. This is you before the race being like, this is what I need. And yes, is anybody going to follow it 100%? No. I don't think I've met a single person. I have not even ever been like 100% A+, gold stars. Like, that just, it's rare that it happens, you know, but like you said, you did all that math ahead of time. And I think that is huge. Nobody wants to do math 6, 8, 10 hours in. Could you imagine like trying to be like, what do I need? And I think that's like the biggest benefit of having a plan going into it. Even if you don't follow it 100%, it's like, okay, but I can still reference this and do something on here, right? Like,
Yes.
I can do some form of this because I know this is what I need. 12 hours in, Kayla does not know what she needs. Like, don't listen to her. Like, bad stuff is gonna happen. So yeah, it's always different, but I like that you kind of had that experience where you're like, I'm just gonna do some different stuff.
Well, and it helps for the next race, right? Like
Yeah.
you have
Yes.
no idea what you're going to want 12 hours in.
Yep.
And although you can do all the planning in the world, like I can even work with you and I don't know, like I don't think I would have known that that egg salad sandwich that I had after 12 hours just absolutely hit the spot.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have one every time, like I've made two for this weekend. And
Yeah.
I just look forward to that now. But you don't know until you're actually out there for 6 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, 18 hours. But once you do experience that, then you can take notes and you can implement it for next time.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's important to practice it in training too. Like, yes, you're probably not going to have an 18-hour training run, but like you can get like 90% of the way there if you just practice it before race day, right? Like, same way you wouldn't do that with training. You wouldn't be like, all right, I'm just going to show up to the, I mean, some people do, right? Like, I'm not going to train, I'm just going to show up. Like, I wish that we thought of nutrition in the same way. Like, this is something that there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of things that are out of our control, but you do have a pretty decent control over your nutrition. Like, you can absolutely control what you're putting in. Can't always control the outputs of it, but if you practice it in training, you're going to have a pretty solid idea of like, okay, this is what works for me. This is what I need. And that way on race day, you can just do the thing and you're not spending your entire race troubleshooting your nutrition. Like, that sounds miserable. The race should
Yes.
be like the celebration of everything you've done. This is it. This is the show, right? Like, this
Right.
shouldn't be when we're figuring it all out. So,
Yep.
yeah.
So I want to back up just a little bit and ask one question. So you mentioned that you do your running and then you get back and you're doing your fueling, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is there an advantage or a disadvantage to doing that versus fueling on the run? Because I've seen it both ways. Like some people just go out with water and then they're getting in all their calories when they're back at camp for 10 to 15 minutes. And some people are fueling the entire time and then they're just sitting and relaxing for their 10 to 15 minutes.
I think it depends on the runner and just like your general fueling style. Like, I do have carbs and sodium in that bottle, so I am getting the majority of my nutrition while I'm out there. Like, I would say more than half of what I need is going to come in that bottle. And so what I'm grabbing when I come in is like the solid stuff, right? So if I was like, oh, hey, I'm doing a gel this hour, I would probably take that out there with me. But I just don't want to have to stop or slow down to eat something. Like, I personally would rather do that when I come back. But yes, I have, like, the one that I did, a lot of people were coming in and then they would just slam all this food and then immediately like take off and run. And I'm like, oh, I could not do that. Like, personally, that's not going to work for me.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that it's not right. You know, like, there's not a one, like, oh my gosh, everybody has to fuel this exact way, you know, and that's another thing that's really cool about it. Like, there's so many different foods and fuels and whatever that we can use. Personally, I am more of a fan of, like, that slow drip nutrition because then you're not just hitting your gut with, like, here's everything all at one time. There might be situations where we have to do that, right? Or maybe you like accidentally fell behind on fueling for a couple hours and so you get to an aid station and you're ravenous and you need to like really load up on stuff. But typically your gut is going to handle it better when it is more of that slow drip, like you're just kind of getting it in throughout the whole thing. But yeah, everybody's a little different, but typically that tends to work better.
And sometimes it just takes noticing. Like, I've talked to people out there and they've told me about their fueling strategy. And once I've kind of mentioned like what I do, it's just kind of like that light bulb moment of like, oh yeah, maybe they felt a little tired or drained on when they're out there running, and it's like, oh yeah, like I can put some carbs and electrolytes in my bottle. It doesn't just need to be water and then all my food in that small amount of window. So a lot of times it's just kind of allowing yourself to listen to your body and kind of realize like what am I feeling, what's going on, and what do I think I need to do to further improve.
Yeah. Well, and again, like that's a huge perk of a backyard or a last man standing is you can troubleshoot like every hour if you need to, versus, you know, something where you're not going to see aid for several hours. You're just kind of stuck with what you have. Like, I'm about to do a weekend in the mountains and I'm like, okay, like I have to carry everything, you know, there's certainly nothing out there. So I'm like, if I run out of water or I get sick of whatever I brought, like that's all there is to it, you know, like nobody's coming to save me. This is what I'm working with.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably one of my favorite things about a last man standing or a backyard is like the fueling part of it can be so much easier just because it's always right there and you don't have to carry it with you. Like,
yes. Although I want my safety blanket of my vest.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes I've worn a vest in them because I'm like, I just don't want to carry a bottle for like 24 hours, you know, but like that one you talked about when it was really hot, like it was probably really nice if you didn't have to wear a vest, at least during those hot hours, you know? So yeah, there's a lot of perks to nutrition with backyards that I think people just don't think about.
So one of the things that I'm really highlighting in this podcast is the mindset of one more in ultramarathons. Can you talk a little bit about nutrition and how it impacts your mindsets and your mental state and your ability to keep going?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like a secret that our brains need carbohydrates to run. Like that is literally their fuel. So, I mean, it's not just like physically fueling your body, but it's helping to keep you mentally focused as we can be that far into a race, right? So yeah, I mean, we need it, number one, for our brains to function. Number two, it's releasing all those good endorphins. So like, you know, think about, I'm sure anybody listening to this has been in a situation in a race where you're like, oh man, like I feel terrible. And then you just like eat a cookie or something and you're like, I can do anything. Like, I know, it was a looped race. I think it was the race I did my 100 in. Yeah, I was having like a super low moment and I saw one of my friends. I'm like, I need a hug. And she's like, when was the last time you ate real food? 'Cause they did like, their aid station had food at like very specific times. And when you're running like a 48-hour race, like you're really not on like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I never was like hungry when they had the real food, and I didn't have a crew. And so I was like, man, it's been maybe like a day. I don't know. Right? Like it's been a minute. I don't know. And she's like, why don't you go like sit down for a little bit and like go make some ramen or something. Like, I was like, okay. And I did that and I was like, wow, like I'm a new person. So, I mean, not just the mental clarity, but also like just the little boost of joy and like, okay, like I feel good. I feel happy. Like I always like to have a couple things that they're not like my main part of my fueling plan, but they're like, hey, if I need a little pick me up, like I don't know why, but mine is Nutter Butter cookies. Like, they're not even that great.
But they are during an ultra.
They are. Like, I literally, my first 100K, I remember, like, running to the last drop bag and being like, there's a Nutter Butter there. Like, just get to the Nutter Butter. And, like, I ate that Nutter Butter, and for, like, 30 minutes, I was like, I'm a new person. Like, so it's more than just fuel, right? Like it brings that feeling of like, okay, like that was happy. Like food does make us happy. It gives us like that motivation. It gives us that boost. So like, I don't know, for me, always having like something kind of weird to look forward to if I know I'm having a low is like, it's not a secret weapon, but I feel like it's kind of like a little secret weapon you can use, you know? Yeah. Like, it's certainly not going to hurt anything to eat a little more food when you're out there. Like, it's probably going to go in a good direction. So, yeah, I think it's super important for that and so many other reasons.
Yes. So let me set the stage for this. We've covered the basics of nutrition for ultramarathons. We've talked about some of the differences in backyards and last man standings, time races. I feel like for running, the universal answer for everything, for any question, is it depends. Like, it doesn't matter if someone asks you about nutrition, asks me about running. It just depends. So, like, how many carbs do I need? How should I fuel my backyard ultra? What happens if XYZ happens? I know that you're making a shift in your business and you love putting together race day fueling plans for runners. And you touched on it earlier, but can you just tell our listeners a little bit more about this and how it can benefit them?
Yeah. And yeah, when I started this business, I was like, if I could just do that, like, I'd be so happy, right? I'm like, I love doing it. I get to put on my nerd hat and like crunch numbers and like all that. So I don't know. I'm a jumper. So I was just like, I'm doing it. I'm just going to see what happens and just kind of focus on this. So yeah, I mean, it's super helpful because it takes all that race day stress being like, oh, I haven't thought about nutrition. Like, I'm just going to roll up and grab whatever and go. Like, you put so much time and effort into your training. Like, why would you not do the same thing for nutrition? Because again, it is something you have a pretty decent amount of control over. So not only are you going to go into it feeling like, hey, that's one less thing I have to worry about, you're going to feel confident knowing, hey, I've actually ate these things on a run. And I know not only did I not like get sick or feel gross from it, but like, I felt really awesome. Like, I had way more energy than I had before I was being intentional with it. Like, I know not just me personally, but when I work with runners, they're like, I had no idea that's what running was supposed to feel like. Like, I just thought it was kind of like when we're little and we're in school, or like, you know, you're at a practice and you mess up and everyone has to run laps or whatever. It's like, there's just like this underlying tone of punishment behind it. And it's like, it actually can be a lot of fun. Like, if you give your body what you need. So like, realizing like, hey, like, this can feel good. And if I start to feel bad, it probably means I need to do a little more, right? So like, having that confidence, not having to do the guesswork, knowing, hey, I have tried these things. We talk about like, you know, I call it like my oh shoot plan. I don't know if you can swear, but I use a different word normally, right? So like, what happens if things go wrong, right? And you're like, I don't want to do my fueling plan. Like, here is something that I know is tried and true, and that even if I don't want to eat anything, like, there's this one gel that I know I can just get it down, right? So we talk about those things. So when you're out there, you don't have to feel like, I have no idea what to do. And that can end a race. That ends a lot of races. And with my race director hat on, I see it all the time. I'm like, people come in, they're like, oh my God, I have to quit. And I'm like, okay, like, are you peeing? Have you ate? What are you doing? Have you ate any like, you know, I'm trying to be like, what do you need? And they're like, oh, I haven't like ate any, I'm not doing electrolytes. Meanwhile, it's June in South Carolina on the coast, you know? So like, just knowing ahead of time that you have planned, and even though it may not go 100% according to plan, like, you have planned, you have brought someone in your corner who's an expert, you've tried this out on training runs, you just get to show up and do the thing. You just have to execute it. There's no freaking out about, I don't know what to eat, or like I did in my first marathon. Cool, I'm drinking, I'm eating. But it wasn't enough, but I didn't know that. So that's what having that plan does. It's like, hey, we know what you need. We've figured it out together. You're not going to get to, 2 miles away from the finish and like have a blood sugar of 4 and not be able to make it in. Like, so it just, yeah, it takes a lot of the unknowns out that can really like paralyze or end a race. And I just think if you can give yourself that, like, you should do that.
Yeah. Or prevent you from even starting or signing up for the race. Like, there are runners out there that won't sign up for the ultras because they don't know what to do with nutrition, because nutrition hasn't worked for the road, or they just don't know what else to do for the trail and for ultras. So I think it's extremely beneficial, and I'm super excited for you. And just, I'm excited to hear about all these different plans that you're putting together for runners, because everyone is so different. So you can't just do what your friend's doing. So
No,
I
there's
think
no
it's
cookie cutter. Like, I don't have like a little template over here that I just send everybody. Like, you get a questionnaire. You tell me about what you typically like to eat, or if you're new to running and you're like, I have no idea, send me some suggestions. Like, I can do that too, right? But like, it truly is customized to you. It's customized to your race because, again, feeling like a flat ultra versus a mountainous ultra versus altitude, backyards, like, they're all going to look a little different. Do you have a crew? Are there drop bags? How far apart are the aid stations? How much water can you carry? Like, it's all very different. Like, I don't think I've ever written a training plan that was like the exact same for two runners, because everybody likes different stuff and every race has its own, specific things that make it different. So it truly is something that has to be customized to the person and to the race.
Yes. I'm going to provide your information in the show notes so everyone will be able to see that. So just reference the show notes if you're interested in learning more about Kayla's race day fueling or any of the other services that she provides. I'm asking everyone this question, so I'm interested to see what you're going to say.
Oh, man.
If you're running a backyard ultra and you can only fuel with one source for the entire time, what would you choose?
I think like the responsible answer is probably something like Scratch, so it has like everything in it, but like the non-responsible answer in me just wants to be like Sour Patch Kids.
Yes.
Like, there's no sodium, don't do it, not a good idea. But there's, everyone has two sides to their brain. I was trying to buy a John G. rain jacket the other day. I'm like, responsible Kayla says, get the black one. Fun Kayla says, get that bright blue one. And Fun Kayla, she always seems to win.
Yes.
So I got the bright blue.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. It'll be better in the summer, right? Like, well,
yeah, and
a blue versus
where
black.
You have to be responsible, and there's times where you don't need to be. And a jacket for a race, I don't need to be responsible. So.
No. Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Kayla, for being on the One More Hour podcast and sharing just the wealth of information that you have. Like, I truly think you're this triple threat. I love the different perspectives that you have. Can you tell our listeners how to follow you and reach you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, so I am most active on Instagram. So the.endurance.nutritionist. Gotta love the world of coming up with a name nobody else has, right? That's where I'm most active. And then the races is Palmetto Ultras if you want to learn more about those races. So yeah, those are the best places to find me. I'm always on there.
Awesome. I will put those in the show notes for everyone. But thank you again so much. This was an absolute blast. And until next time, everyone strive to go 1 more hour, 1 more mile, or even 1 more step.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to 1 More Hour. If you enjoyed this episode, hit follow so you don't miss the next yard. And share it with a runner who loves pushing their limits. I'd love to hear your own stories of going 1 more. Connect with me on Instagram at the 1 More Hour podcast. And if you could leave a quick review, it'll help more runners find the show and keep going when they want to stop. Until next time, just go 1 more hour.